Mr. President, distinguished senators, good afternoon. You have heard over the course of the last several days overwhelming evidence that President Trump incited an insurrection. But as Lead Manager Raskin mentioned, as we prepare to close, we'd be remiss if we didn't just briefly address the principal defense that the President will offer to excuse his conduct, and that is this notion that he can't be held accountable for what happened on January 6th because his actions are somehow protected by the First Amendment. Now, let's stop a moment and try to really understand the argument that they are making. According to President Trump, everything he did, everything we showed you that he did, was perfectly okay for him to do, and for a future president to do again. And the Constitution, apparently, in their view, forbids you from doing anything to stop it. That can't be right. It can't be. And it isn't right. Their argument is meant as a distraction. They are concerned not with the facts that actually occurred, the facts that we've proven, but with an alternative set of facts, where President Trump did nothing but deliver a controversial speech at a rally. Of course, that's not what we've charged in the article of impeachment, and it's not what happened. You will hear from my colleague, Lead Manager Raskin, the many myriad reasons why this argument that they make is wrong on the law, completely. Not just around the edges. They make major, fundamental mistakes of constitutional law, the kind that Lead Manager Raskin tells me wouldn't cut it in his first year law course, which of course he certainly would know since he has taught this subject for decades. And that explains why so many lawyers who've dedicated their lives to protecting free speech, including many of the nation's most prominent conservative free speech lawyers, have described President Trump's First Amendment claims as, quote, legally frivolous. There's another quote from a recent letter from prominent free speech lawyers that, quote, the First Amendment is no bar to the Senate convicting former President Trump and disqualifying him from holding future office. Their argument is wrong on the facts, wrong on the law, and would flip the Constitution upside down. Let's start with the facts, because as you'll see, his free speech claim depends on an account of what he did, of why we're here, that has no basis in the evidence. To hear his lawyers tell it, he was just some guy at a rally expressing unpopular opinions. They would have you believe that this whole impeachment is because he said things that one may disagree with. Really? And make no mistake, they will do anything to avoid talking about the facts of this case. That I can assure you. Instead, we expect they will talk about a lot of other speeches, including some given by Democratic officials, and they will insist with indignation that the First Amendment protects all of this as though it were exactly the same. We trust you to know the difference because you've seen the evidence that we've seen. You've seen, as we've proven over the last 3 days, that his arguments completely misdescribe the reality of what happened on January 6th. They leave out everything that matters about why we're here and what he did. Because President Trump wasn't just some guy with political opinions who showed up at a rally on January 6th and delivered controversial remarks. He was the President of the United States. And he had spent months using the unique power of that office, of his bully pulpit, to spread that big lie that the election had been stolen, to convince his followers to stop the steal, to assemble them just blocks away from here on January 6th, at the very moment that we were meeting to count the electoral college votes, where he knew, where it had been widely reported that they were primed and eager and ready for violence at his signal. And then, standing in the middle of that explosive situation, in that powder keg that he had created over the course of months, before a crowd filled with people that were poised for violence, at his signal, he struck a match and he aimed it straight at this building, at us. You've seen all that evidence. There's no denying it. That's why the House impeached him. That's why he's on trial. No president, no matter their politics or the politics of their followers, conservative, liberal, or anything else, no president can do what President Trump did. Because this isn't about politics. It's about his refusal to accept the outcome of the election and his decision to incite an insurrection. And there's no serious argument that the First Amendment protects that. And it would be extraordinarily dangerous for the United States Senate to conclude otherwise. To tell future presidents that they can do exactly what President Trump did and get away with it. To set the precedent that this is an acceptable, now a constitutionally protected way to respond to losing an election. And you'll notice something, certainly something Lead Manager Raskin and I noticed, which is that by all accounts, it doesn't appear that President Trump's lawyers disagree. I mean, they don't insist that if the facts we've charged, the facts that we have proven, the facts supported by overwhelming evidence are true, as of course you now know they are, that there's nothing you can do. They're not arguing that it's okay for a person to incite a mob to violence. At least I don't think they're arguing that. Instead, what they are doing is offering a radically different version of what happened that day, totally inconsistent with the evidence. And then they insist that if that fictional version of events, if that alternate reality were true, well then he may be protected by the First Amendment. That's their argument. But you are here to adjudicate real evidence, real facts, not hypothetical ones. And for that reason alone, you should reject their argument, because it has been advanced to defend a situation that bears no resemblance to the actual facts of this case. With that, I want to turn it over to my colleague, Lead Manager Raskin, to address the many legal flaws, as I mentioned, in President Trump's position.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.